So here are the top 10 traits that got me from looking like this to eventually looking like this. Number 1, choose weight training over cardio. Now you can do cardio all day and night and you won't win the war against a bad diet. Now I promise you, I did that for years, and so I know this more than anyone. Each pound of muscle that you gain will help you burn more fat, even if you're just sitting there. And the problem is that the perception of muscle building has just been skewed by the stereotype of bodybuilders, but that's so far from reality. Muscle building will not only accelerate your fat loss, but it will also help reduce the chances of awful health issues like osteoporosis, cardiovascular diseases, and a bunch of other ailments, right? Number 2, get to the gym before you normally wake up. Yes, that means if you wake up at 7 a.m., now you need to get up and be out of the house by 6 a.m. Now, for those who are in a business or in a corporate environment, this is often a silver bullet that has so many benefits. I'm a massive believer that the mornings are almost a hack to do something while the rest of civilization is on pause. No phone calls, no distractions, and nobody to blame apart from yourself if you don't get something done. Now, to start, it will be tough to get up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. But if you have a coach for accountability, that can be the perfect driving force. Pre-plan 80% of what your meals will look like. Now, this might sound petty, but one of the biggest reasons why most guys screw up is because they leave so much to chance. Now, as an adult, it's not a lot to ask for you to be in control of what foods you're putting into your own body. You almost have to imagine that everybody is set out to catch you or to kind of trick you, make you deviate from what you intended to put in your body. So you need to meticulously plan for the days ahead to avoid those traps. And it's really all about planning in advance. Stick to a few repeatable meals 80% of the time. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to do this. If you're weight training and you're moving about a lot, you should be hungry quite often. And when you're hungry, you care a little bit less about how exciting food is. If you're not hungry, then you probably need to wait that little bit longer, because the more hungry you are, the better those foods will taste. Now, personally, I eat chicken, vegetables, and hummus every day because it does the job. It's a balance of being nutritious enough and only has a few limited or other empty calories to it. So really, it's about focusing on meals that you know you can sustain over a long period of time. Have some guilty pleasures to top up your meal. Quite often, the salmon, chicken, steak, eggs, or salad filled with legumes isn't going to be enough for you to look forward to something. So add something else to it. The butter to the rice, or have a small amount of coleslaw or mayonnaise on the side. Add a little bit of cheese on top if you want. If having 10% of what you want to will result in you sticking to good nutrition, then do it. Why? Because the benefits of you sticking to the plan should outweigh the couple of hundred extra calories that you get from having that extra bit of what you want. Eat before you go out. Now, this might sound like an odd thing to do, but hunger always wins. And the smell of food that you enjoy, together with your stomach grumbling, is a recipe for disaster. Now, this isn't just exclusive to eating before going out, whether it's a restaurant, pub, day out with the kids, a social gathering. If it's likely to coincide when you are likely to be hungry, i.e. 4 or 5 hours from when you last ate, then get ahead of it. Make yourself full with the food of your own choice instead of being at the mercy of wherever you're going. Identify where your biggest binges are happening and plan the hell out of how to manage it. Now, what does that mean in real terms? It means that you essentially need to talk to yourself and ask, when and where is this guy most likely to fall off track? And that guy is you. It means essentially setting up a board meeting with yourself or your coach and think of a plan of defense for where you know you have the weak spots. Now, that could be on Friday nights for takeaways, so you can reduce or rather choose better options in advance, or even make a home takeaway. If it's drinking, then you need to think about setting a limit to the number of drinks you can have, right? But my point is, find out where the biggest leak is occurring and fix it, because quite often that in itself may be the single thing that takes you to winning. Think of yourself as someone you are responsible for, i.e. the way in which you would help your own child to get on top of their health. Set him or her up for success. As weird as it sounds, plan for the guy who's going to come out tomorrow and completely forget about the discipline that you have today. Remove his excuses. Prep his food. Set his alarm for the gym. Look at his week and think about where he might possibly screw up, and think about how you can help him stay on track. Now, sometimes that's doing simple things like just setting up more time with like-minded people who are also moving in the same direction. Could be to start connecting with people who are just disproportionately concerned with their health. But you need to think of yourself as two different people. The person right now who probably wants to stay on track, and the person who may come out tomorrow who wants to completely take you off track. Create barriers to access junk food. Now, this sounds simple, right? But I promise you, this worked wonders for me. I took all the junk food out of the cupboards that I was regularly binging on, and I put them in an outbuilding, which is essentially a garage. This made a massive difference because those few extra steps are often enough to tip the balance in your favor. And that's key, right? Just creating that gap between you and access to the crap food. Protein intake. Now, yes, this sounds boring, but it really is one of the most fundamental parts of gaining muscle to accelerate your fat loss journey. Now, protein simply makes you fuller for longer. It is critical to building muscle. Not only that, but your body has to use more calories to simply digest and break down the protein. So you are literally creating a mini cardio cycle for every gram of protein that you eat. Now, in terms of the amount, I would just go with 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But if you can't do that, don't worry about it. Just focus on doubling what you're having at the moment. You don't need to go from 0 to 100 quite literally. It's worth bearing in mind that this point has been beaten to death for a reason. Don't overlook it, because the reality is protein consumption is number one and is ultimately at the bedrock of making you lose weight more efficiently.